Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to something a little different. I've probably been watching a little bit too much news, but uh, I'm gonna, with the help of my good friend Grim, talk a little bit about some things. Part of this was inspired by our good friend Squirrel Hermit, who recently had to evacuate due to a local disaster in his area. If you guys know Squirrel, you know what I'm talking about. If you watch the news, you probably also know what I'm talking about. But I also have this handy little sheet of paper that's on my refrigerator, and it's been there for many years. And it's a checklist for your bug out bag. And it occurred to me that, while I have several and they're all near, the appropriate door for in case of such an emergency. But to be honest, I probably won't be going anywhere. If something bad happens, I'm probably going to stay in place. But for folks like Squirrel, if he ever has to, bug out again, or for any of you out there, gamers in mind, I thought I would go over some tips. I'm still waiting for Grim to pop in. Hello, Crafting Gamer. How you doing? Hope you never need this information, all of you guys. But if for some reason you do, I hope you'll take this to heart and use it to the best of your ability. You know, you can start out small, by starting with a good backpack or duffel bag, whatever you can carry. Remember, you've only got two hands to carry stuff and a backpack. You're probably better off having the backpack so you've got your other, appendages for use doing all the other, stuff you're going to need to do, whether it's driving or opening doors or, holding handrails or things like that. You never know, but, it's just right off the bat, it's a good idea to have your hands free just in case. There are some tools and items that you're going to want to grab, and you won't be able to put them over your shoulder and your backpack if they're larger things. Especially things like water, which we'll go into in just a moment. How's it going, Six Nations? Welcome to the show. Hopefully, this won't be too much of a downer for everybody, um, because like I said, I hope you guys never have to do this and leave wherever you are and leave all your stuff and try to seek shelter at some FEMA camp or some awful instance like that, or go to a hotel or the airport or whatever. Hopefully, this will just be stuff for just in case. I've always lived by the whole be prepared motto, and I use it every day. And some of the items I literally would put in my bug out bag I use every day, like this ancient beat up old Swiss Army knife that's missing the other plastic cover. And I've had this for going on 30 years now, and I literally use it every day. I'm missing the ballpoint pen, which it is nice in a pinch, but it was kind of a dorky little item to put in there. And I think I'm missing the toothpick, but let's face it, um, just bring some toothpicks if you're that kind of guy. But it's got all kinds of great tools in it, from knives and screwdrivers and a saw and a file and all, and just all kind of magnifying glass. If you forgot your lighter, I suppose you could, spend 8 hours trying to start a fire that way. But just stock up on some big lighters. Everything else, the ferro rod is not a bad idea. I've got one on all my keychains, but not everybody knows how to use them or comfortable with using them. Matches are just bulky and take up space in your backpack. A Bic lighter. I've had this, not this one, but I have a Bic lighter downstairs that's been in my pocket for over a year, and I use it all the dang time. Well, because I'm a smoker. But I mean, it's literally lasted, like a year of using it 15, 20 times a day, and it's still going. And you know, I would recommend just buying the 5 pack and handing them out to everybody in your family. Here you go. Here's a lighter. Don't lose it, kind of thing. Crafton Gamer. Doing pretty good today. Just finished recording first mead sampling video, 13% alcohol by volume. It's so sweet you can't taste the alcohol. Well, I don't drink alcohol, and I've never tried mead. And if I ever do drink again, that's one of the things on my bucket list. And here is my good friend Grim. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey,
How
buddy.
you doing
How you
today?
doing?
I'm
Hanging
doing
in there.
great. Pardon?
I'm hanging in there.
That's what this is all about. Hanging in there until the very last second, that we can, getting the most out of life. You probably heard the intro. Nightmare, welcome to the show. Uh, he and I have talked about this, and we've actually talked about this like every time we talk on the phone. We make sure each other's got everything going. We both have the exact same family size, so a lot of these things work out for us. So, how's the weather over there?
Oh, it's good today. Windy. Windy. How about you?
It's getting ready to rain in the next day or two, maybe even snow, which I will believe it when I see it. And I just planted some grape plants, and I had to move them because it's getting really cold. Yesterday was nice, 60, almost 65 degrees, sunny. And so I put them in a little potted thing, and now I have to move them with the sun. And when the sun goes down tonight, I got to bring them in because I don't want them to freeze to death before they, get germinated and everything. It was really surprising that Walmart actually had, when you buy roses in those little plastic tubes, you know, right next to the roses were grapes and blueberries and blackberries and raspberries. And I'm like, I have
That's pretty
never
awesome.
seen that. I've never seen that before. So we got a little bit of everything, but grapes are one of our favorite fruits around the Shadow household, and we go through them like crazy.
Pardon.
And I figured, you know what? A friend of ours who lives down the street has been growing them for a decade. Let's give it a try, see what we can get. I figure if we get, you know, uh, two baskets of each out of each plant, we double our money's investment. And if we can figure out how to keep them growing, during the off season, keep them alive. Obviously, they're probably not going to, sprout grapes during the winter, but we'll see what happens. But that's actually a topic for probably not next episode, but the episode after that. Grim and I are going to be doing a regular, what is it, Tuesday afternoon survival for preppers, the preppers for gamers episode. Our good friend Tenkar does a gamer's health. Well, this rolls right along with that idea, keeping our favorite gamers around as long as possible, because that's what this is all about. I want to see each and every one of you, have an emergency plan if you need it, and hopefully you'll never need it. But worst comes to worst, you guys will be ready. Six
Absolutely.
Nation, definitely test your gear. A storm hit the Bay Area the weekend I tested my first bug out bag. It was a great learning experience, even though it all went tits up. That was 10, 11 years ago. You know what? That is a great idea. Spring is coming, and that's the perfect time to start doing some exercises, training. You know, you guys should all have an earthquake or a fire or a storm or a tornado plan of action. And believe it or not, I watch a survival guy by the name of BL Ranch. I don't know his actual real name, but his channel is BL Ranch. And he's a bit of a patriotic guy, but he did something, or he started doing something a couple weeks back, maybe a couple months back, which is literally role playing the proposed mission agenda. He'll set forth. He'll give you guys a mission or something, and then have you role play it out. He's not a gamer. He's a sci-fi and fantasy viewer. But he's an ex-marine, and he literally was. Thank you. BL Ranch is awesome. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Six Nations. He does these things where he basically, like, maybe without knowing it or knowing it, I don't know. Gives you a scenario and has you more or less at home role play what you would do, or in the chat section or whatever, the comment section, and role play what you would do. And this is something you could do with your kids or your wife. Okay, an earthquake is happening or a tornado's coming. What do you do? And just have her or him or them, tell you what they're going to do so that they can work out in their mind and then be ready for the actual, event to, go downstairs into the basement or grab the bug out bag and start throwing them in the trunk of the car. Grab all the water you can, which reminds me, I forgot to get my water filter. I have a little portable water filter that is one of the number one items you want to bring. Instead of trying to grab all the water you
Great
can,
thing to carry. Yep.
it literally will purify, for the most part, like almost 200,000 gallons of water before it's no good. Well, that's a lot of water. That is I mean, I, without considering bathing, for drinking and brushing your teeth and that sort of stuff, that's a lot of water to purify. And with the folks in Ohio, you're probably going to need something stronger than that, like a U-Haul truck to get the hell out of Dodge, because that stuff is just unacceptable. The delays, the lack of actual caring from our government, what they're
Yep.
letting people do, their proposed plan of action of, oh, we'll just evacuate a mile. Well, what if you're a mile and a half away? You really think you're
Exactly.
safe from all that stuff that got spewed into the air? Not even close. You think the
That was
water's safe to
tragic.
drink? It absolutely was. It was a crime. It was literally a
It was a
crime.
crime.
Uh,
It was a crime.
and considering the area that it targeted, and I do use that word targeted because I don't think it was an accident. It wouldn't surprise me if wait, we did see one in Arizona and somewhere else in the U.S. Another incident similar, not as severe, or at least I haven't heard it being as severe. Um, but I be prepared. That's all I can say. And so, hey, Ironcaster, welcome to the show. Hope you're, taking notes. If not, I'll find a way. Maybe I can photocopy this sheet that I've had and throw it on Discord somewhere. But it goes by the rule of three. You can go 3 minutes without air before you're done. You can go 3 days without water before you're done. You can go 3 weeks to a month without food before you're done. Oh, and of course, 3 hours without shelter. And while you may not be done, you're gonna feel like crap, and it's just gonna lower your percent chances on everything. So get some
Absolutely.
shelter. If you're going someplace cool, but it wouldn't hurt to have a small, medium, whatever size tent you can fit, just in case you get to where you're going and they go, oh, we got no room. You have to sleep in your car. Yeah, no, sleeping bags, tent. Although sleeping in your car isn't an awful idea. It's just after a couple of nights that you're not going to be getting the rest you need. You're better off in a tent where you could lay down flat and get more rest as opposed to some rest.
That's also a great way to prepare is just do a small little 1 day, 2 day camping trip. Well, 24-hour camping trip or a 2 day, whatever you can do. And
Mm-hmm.
just get yourself familiar with camping and using water filters near streams and stuff like that. That can definitely help for a prep sort of thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to try to run through most of this list. I'll give you Grim chances to comment. The first thing on there is air. If you can get a gas mask or something like that, I've got two. I really need three, but I've got two Israeli gas masks. The filters are still intact, and worst comes to worst, we're gonna draw straws to see who doesn't get the mask. Because honestly, sharing one doesn't work. All it takes is one inhalation of something nasty for it to be all over for you, and then you could literally contaminate the mask from the inside, exhaling that junk. And then what's the point? I'm guessing the little guy gets the first one, and uh, me and the wife will arm wrestle over the second one or whatever. No, I'm just gonna have to get another one. Probably a good idea to get a couple extras just in case. Unfortunately, the pupper, sorry, buddy, you've had a good life. They don't make doggy masks. Actually, they do, but he should have heard me when I said that. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. The dog is smarter than most kids I know. The next item is a 22 rifle. I actually have a Henry rifle. It's called an AR-7. You may remember it from that famous James Bond movie where he pulls out the little plastic stock and pulls out the receiver and the barrel from the stock. It's about this big when, disassembled and put into the stock. It has a place for 3 8-round magazines and a brick of 22 ammo. I definitely long rifle or 22 Magnum, depending on what you've got. That's the bare minimum, whether it be for hunting or just scaring off the bad guys. Obviously, I recommend, going armed for bear in such a situation. Just don't let anybody see what you're carrying because, the authorities will quickly try to disarm you. And that's when you tell them to get bent because no.
That also floats. If you were needing to ford a river, that floats, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it's watertight, and it weighs like 2 pounds, maybe fully loaded. And the little guy knows how to use it. I know how to use it. Obviously, I'll be carrying something a little bit different, but that'll be when you're trying to take out squirrels and raccoons. Sorry, squirrel, or birds or whatever, for eating, I guess. You don't really want to take out the 308 or something like that. If you got a shotgun, that's probably better, but it's really loud and it's going to let people know what you're up to. And that's another thing we'll have to talk about is keeping your stuff private and secure and on the DL at all costs, because all it takes is for everybody else to run out and see you doing well before they start looking at you the wrong way.
Very true. Yep. When people
One of the
get
items
desperate,
on here, one of the items on this list is a bulletproof panel or plate carrier. That's for hardcore preppers. If you can afford the $200 to get a good plate carrier, use it to buy food and water and all the things on the list, and then go back, find another $200 some other way, because a plate carrier is for really hardcore, stuff hits the fan situations. You really, you walk, if people see you walk around with a plate carrier, they're going to know you're much better off than everybody else. And again, you're going to be a target. And all it takes is for 4 people to decide, hey, he's got a granola bar, I want it.
yeah.
I'm
Poor
not even kidding. That's all it
Four
takes.
hippies, 4 angry hippies.
Yeah. And you're not only will you be left, naked and dead, but then they're going to look at your family and go, what do they got? So
Absolutely.
keep everything on the DL the best you can. Definitely don't be wearing your best clothes. Just wear your warmest clothes or your coolest clothes, depending on the situation. Although I would actually always recommend going for the warmer clothes as opposed to wearing shorts, because there's no kind of survival situation where that's a good idea. Even if you're in a flood situation, you can use the pants as a flotation device, etc. There's all kinds of things. Shorts, that's just gonna get you, looking like a doofus and getting scratched up knees and ankles and stuff like that. RPG Grandma is here. Howdy, how you doing? For those of you who haven't met RPG Grandma, I'm so tickled to death that you actually are sticking with the nickname we gave you. She is a wonderful lady who has been in the gaming world probably a little bit longer than me and really knows her stuff. So if she types something in there, take notes. Kevin, welcome to the show, buddy. Okay, Nightmare, you know what? You'll be able to watch the rest of this. This might be one of those videos you actually want to, save, download, or share. I'd appreciate that, because this is the one time we're really going to try to help people out. Next couple items on the list are folding 6-inch blade knife, 3-in-1 non-lethal self-defense stealth gun, pepper spray, and a titanium spork. You'd be amazed at how deadly a weapon a spork can be. A titanium one makes it easy to clean, and you won't have to, worry about it breaking when you're eating your MREs or whatever. The folding knife, I actually have like a 10-inch Bowie knife that if I go outdoors longer than a couple hours, it's on my hip, and I've had it for 40 plus years. It's still sharp as the day I got it, and it doubles as a wood splitter. I use it for all kinds of, I can use it to dig. I can use it to, whittle in a pinch, make spikes. If I need to, go into combat, that would be the thing I'd pick. It's a really good knife, a good Bowie knife, will last you a lifetime. And mine has lasted, like I said, 40 plus years.
That's
It's
awesome.
solid. Right. It's a full tang. Uh, it's about this big overall, leather sheath, and with a strap for your legs so it doesn't go flapping in case you don't want stuff getting caught on things, etc. Yeah, definitely go through your bug out, and especially the perishables. Check those out. We rotate our granola bars and all of our survival foods. We we uh we we recycle them, just like they do on the store shelves. You use the oldest stuff first. And a quick tip on that: most things last a good long time, longer than their best use by date. Most canned goods, if you get them as soon as they put them on the shelf, are good for about 5 years. Don't let the label or the print on it trick you. And if you open up a can and it smells awful, or it's dented or something like that, then you can take the chance. But I'd rather get the food in me and take my chances than to just throw it out without you know taking a chance. If you've got a
MREs
dog,
are,
offer it to the dog. A dog will not eat food that's not gonna, for the most part, agree with it.
that's
I was
true.
really debating leather and synthetic. Went for synthetic. Don't have the energy to keep the leather in good shape. That works. Mine is, you know, luckily survived. Harbor Freight actually, if you guys have Harbor Freights near you, they have a lot of great stuff, including a really nice machete for about five
They
bucks,
do. Yep.
a couple of different survival knives, and I mean, literally, you could go in there with $100 and get all the things you need except the backpack, and be very, very good to go. Once you've made your list, and mind you, that doesn't include food, because that's food and water are number one. Everything else is kind of secondary, other than shelter. And your
You never,
shelter investment is a one-time buy-in, but you're going to need food every day. Just remember that you can get by on a lot less calories than you think you can, and you better start doing that the minute you have to. Thinking you need breakfast, lunch, and dinner is retarded. You don't. Breakfast and dinner, and trust me, you if you go without lunch and then you go and have a good dinner, you will be really well prepared for a good night's sleep, minding, providing you don't have to do night watch duty, which is something we
absolutely.
will get into in a later episode. But something,
Also,
yeah, check them out, Grandma.
military,
Uh,
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just saying hi to RPG Grandma.
Oh,
She
gotcha.
said Harbor Freight. I'll check them out after reviewing the supplies this week. Good for you. Yeah,
Also,
water is number one, two, and three. Yeah, I know, Kevin. Um, yeah, everybody's water situation needs to be improved, starting with the filters first. Then, what I would recommend is getting the big plastic, or glass if you want to deal with. If you're going to stay in place, glass is better, because glass you can actually heat up water bottles with fire, and they won't melt. If you know anything about survival, you can take a 2 liter bottle and hang it over a fire, and it will boil, and it will not melt the plastic, because the water inside is keeping it from doing that. Um,
true.
but
Uh,
get your water filter, get a lot of bottles of water. And one trick I want to hand out to you guys: if you buy orange juice or even milk, if you rinse those bottles out with your home tap water and rinse them out good, steaming hot water, rinse them, and store just tap water. If you can do it, that tap water, you won't want to drink it. You run it through the filter, it's fine. But for things like bathing and cleaning, and another thing that most people don't know is that if the power goes out, okay, the water in your home is only going to last a little while before the water pumps just won't bring it to you. But if you take a gallon or two of tap water and pour it in the back of your toilet, you can flush your toilet. Even though you've run out of water, you could just provide your own saved up tap water. And, obviously you're going to have to, you know, not flush every time, wait until the whole family's done their business, disgusting as that may sound, one tank full of water will safely flush 3 people's waste and get it out of your house, so you're not digging, a latrine in your backyard. Because trust me, when everything goes back to
Also,
normal, you're gonna have a mess that you will never
al-
ever recover from.
also,
You
if
know,
you're going to use if you know the water is going to go out, fill your tub, fill your sinks, fill everything with water. Even if it's not the cleanest water, you can still boil it, depending on what's happened. You have to be very wary of what you're drinking at the time. But generally, that water that's in the pipes is probably going to be safe from your water distribution area, because it's generally coming a long way and it's protected by that. So fill up your tubs, fill up the back of your toilet, fill up your sinks, fill up other containers, because if you have water, like Shadow said, you got 3 days, where you're going to be suffering without it. So
mhm,
if you don't have
before
food,
curtains.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
MREs, speaking of food, MREs are a great thing to get. Military MREs, they have like the regular entree meal uh, has tissue, it has matches, it has chewing gum, it has other effects in there that can help you, and those are great to carry with you. And don't get the more modern ones, because they're putting in eyeshadow and lipstick and stuff like that, and you don't want that in your in your in your everyday usage. Well, you might, I don't know, your wife or girlfriend might, but you don't want that.
Hey, Bolty. Yeah, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. To not, forget your cleaning products and your feminine products and things like that. Um, yeah, it doesn't have smokes anymore. The bums. You know what? I roll my own, and every time I go to the tobacco store, I buy 4 to 6 months worth. And in a situation, I might actually, be forced to quit, even though I have plenty left just to trade, which is something we'll go into in a later episode, because trading will make you very popular, very much a target. But if you think you could survive with just your family against the world, forget it. If you haven't already started making friends with everybody in your neighborhood and got together and come up with solutions, you're yeah, it is, Bo. You're making a huge mistake, because a good little community can help each other out better than FEMA and the government, etc. Especially if you live near anybody who has livestock, or you live like where I do, in a nice cul-de-sac where good luck getting in. Yeah, with 4 guys we can defend 14 houses. You know, and but yeah, Bo, it's not necessarily Y2K all over again, but I've been watching uh, a lot of the news, and I really shouldn't. Sorry, James L. I really shouldn't, but it's not just me. I got to worry about the little guy who wouldn't know what to do. Yes, never, ever, ever trade ammunition. I don't care what they're offering. I mean, unless it's a hostage situation, you never, ever trade ammo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh,
Unless you're really good friends with the person and you're there with them and they're with you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
The
what?
person you trade it with will kill you with it. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Um,
Absolutely.
you know,
Come back and haunt you.
yeah, and that will be a later episode. Some of the hard decisions you may be forced to make in the worst case situation. Yeah, yeah. They will put you in a box or a tent and not let you out. I've already seen the camps that have been built all over the country and elsewhere. Yes, building a tribe, that is, a very crucial thing. You might even want to start simple with make a flyer, and make a neighborhood, watch meeting. Please come, or go door to door and say, hey, we're all going to meet out in the middle of our street, and we're going to get some chairs, and we're going to talk, and we're going to get ready for anything, and everybody's going to need to fill a position for this or that duty, and we're all going to go a little commie for a bit, to survive. But it's better that than, burying your family in the backyard.
It's true. Hey, what
Bugging
brought
out with a
this up?
small child is near impossible, Bo. That's why you never tell them you're bugging out. You're telling them you're going on a little vacation. You
Maybe
keep
you
their
should.
spirits up no matter what.
Did you already mention why you came up, why you wanted to do this? Because you had a friend up in Ohio, didn't you?
Yes,
Uh,
Squirrel Hermit had to literally leave, and it bummed me out because I knew what was going on, and I knew how bad it was going to get for him. And you know, if you've
that's a
watched
shame.
any news, you know what happened, what's going on, and how it's not being taken care of properly, and offering the inhabitants a mere $1,000 is a trap. If you take that money, you cannot sue those people. Do not take that money. I don't care how much you need it. Don't take that
Absolutely.
money. It's absolutely, you're gonna have to sign away your right to sue them for it, and it's not worth it because $1,000 now may seem like you know something. But
And
come the class action suits later on down the road, you'll be looking at tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, because what they're offering is like offering a child a nickel for his piggy bank, completely worthless.
that was a horrible thing. And the transportation man still hasn't gone there. Or Mon,
I'm
transportation
sorry.
Mon,
I'm
or
sorry to
whatever
hear
he is.
that, RPG Grandma. Find out who are and find out who aren't, and let everybody else know who aren't. You've got to make a strong team, strong tribe. Unless you're willing to, get the heck out of Dodge and, face the consequences. But me, I've got too much stuff that I know when I came back would all be gone. There's no way I could take the most important things. Hell, my firearms alone would take up the entire trunk. And you know darn well I'm not leaving them. There's no safe strong enough to keep the government out of your safe when you're gone. And that would be a guaranteed thing to happen.
Or any thug. It's
You
guarding
know, you know
safes
what?
and things, time
Six
that
Nations, you
protects
know what?
things.
Not only are flintlocks not a horrible idea, but you also do not have to wait any sort of waiting period, and you could buy them at almost any age. So you could buy, if you have the ability to buy them and buy as much black powder and caps and primers and all, whatever you're going to be using, whatever type of black powder you're using, grab it all, every last bit of it, and hope you never need it. Um, because where I live, it's very hard to get anything anymore, and I'm glad that I stocked up. Right, of course he has, Justin. He has no intention of doing any of the right things because this was this wasn't an accident. I'm just going to say that it couldn't have been more coincidental. I mean, coupled with the fact that they made a movie about it, and it happened in the same place, and then it happened. Yes, crossbows and bows and arrows and all that stuff also good because you can reuse them if you're good and they're quiet, and you can buy them without any paperwork, and I recommend doing so. Let's get back to the list. The shelter, a poncho liner, uh, any sort of backpacking tent, multiple versions, your sleeping bags. Absolutely invest in the survival, space age, aluminum foil backpacks. I mean, not backpacks, sleeping bags, because those can also be turned into shelter, and really good improvised shelter because it will reflect your campfire heat back in there. And it's better to be hot and sweaty than to be cold and shivering. I'm just going to say that. I mean, chances are you don't live in the high desert like me where it can get up to 120 in the day. But if that's the case, you flip it around and reflect the sun away from your shelter. And then at night, you flip it back around so that it's reflecting the heat. Because if it gets hot during the day, it gets cold during the night, unless you live in some place, where it's, kind of, you know, lesser incremental increases and decreases in the temperature. Yes, Kevin, that is exactly, the spirit behind this. Better to be prepared and not need it than need it, not be prepared or have it. You guys know that. the expressions. Um, yeah, old flatware, whatever it takes. I mean, if you really want to, get down to it, you can use, rocks from your local area. If you learn and practice, if you got nothing better to do, you can get those skills too. I mean, humans did that for thousands of years, and here we are.
Is he talking about flint napping? I can't see the chat
Yeah,
for some reason.
yeah, he's talking, yeah, about making arrowheads out of silverware. You can pound down a spoon, and make a good arrowhead real quick.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely.
don't recommend I don't recommend emptying your silverware drawer into your bag.
No,
Just yeah. If you need to, go raid the nearest dollar store, and when you need them, because nobody's going to be taking the spoons and the knives and the forks. They're going to be taking the food items, the water, and everything else will just get trashed, and you can just walk in and take that stuff. Yep, that works too. I don't plan on doing the black powder thing, until this has gone on for like a year. I've got a lot of you know tools for my other tools to put inside my tools in case I need to use those tools for certain situations, and I'm good to go. Clothing. Carry your clothes in your sleeping bag. You can use your clothing as a shelter. You can tie your pants and jackets and things like that if you don't have a tent, or you need extra insulation, getting zip ties to do something like that. Squirrel, we've been talking about you for 36 minutes, or at least the situation you were or may be in again. Welcome to the show.
God
I
bless
wish I
you,
would
buddy.
have done Wish we
Sorry that
could have done
happened
this
to you.
video a while ago and helped you out, but chances are, you're not the only one who's going to need this kind of info. Um, hats. Another thing people forget is like safety goggles, not just sunglasses, but there's a couple of companies out there that make some tinted safety goggles so they can double as sunglasses and safety goggles. If you have to do any sort of chopping or cutting, or hammering or anything like that, um, or if you want to get the shop goggles that almost stick to your face, those will protect your eyes from a lot of the crap that you may have to deal with. Later on, we'll go into how you can make your own gas mask out of a 2-liter bottle, if that's something you may need. It's hard to tell at the moment, but knowing these little skills and stuff can actually come into play, because then you know them for your characters. If you're playing a modern day game or a sci-fi game, even a fantasy game, you could use some of these skills and these tips, as you put it, you grab the survival skill for your character that lets you
And
use your real world knowledge as your player character without the DM going, hey, your character wouldn't know that. I'm like,
yeah,
survival
make the
two
DM
right
give
here,
it to
buddy.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
Make him
yeah.
give you those
you know
skills.
and maybe you'll even teach your DM a little bit more about the whole prepping mentality.
Very true. And don't forget meds. If you need some kind of
Yeah,
med, definitely
no,
take
no
that.
problem, Squirrel. If I could, if I can remove this comment, I will remove this comment for you. Nope, I can only star your comment or put you in timeout. No, I'm kidding. I'm not doing either. Um, yeah, charcoal ones. Uh, Absolutely, all that good stuff. Don't forget your gloves, extra socks, a wool cap. You've seen me wear, a toque from time to time. Bandanas help. A bandana is one of the most useful pieces of equipment in any bug out bag. You can use it for a tourniquet, a sling, a filter mask, for carrying stuff hobo style. So you could be the murder hobo in game and real life. You know, as a bandage. If you sprain uh, something, you can reinforce it with one of those. Having a dozen or a 10 pack of bandanas, not a bad idea. And on all this stuff, a lot of this stuff, you might want to even think about keeping in your car if possible, in a nondescript looking container or something, just so that your job's half done, because you never know when you might break down on the side of the road, in which you had a granola bar or an extra bottle of water, or a blanket. A lot of those things you can easily keep in your back of your truck. And if you cover it up with a folded blanket, most people aren't going to be likely to break into your car for a folded up blanket. And you can have stuff hidden underneath it. Absolutely, fire making supplies. We talked about that at the beginning. Your ferro rod, your Bic lighter is really your best bet. One of these things will last a good long time. Buy a 5-pack, spread them out. Um, Dry bags, another good one. You can use those for a lot of different things. Some bags, you can even use for, building your water filter. We'll go into the water filter next episode because I didn't bring that info with me. But canteens, water bottles, 2-liter bottles, especially 2-liter bottles because they're easier to carry, and you can turn them into a cooking utensil. You can boil water in them. You can turn them into gas masks. You can turn them into cordage. Believe it or not, if you know how to do it, you can turn a 2-liter bottle into like about 100 yards of plastic cord that you can use to tie things down with or tie people up. Whatever your kink is, I'm not going to shame you, but you can seriously with I think all you need is like a good sharp knife, a stick, and a 2-liter bottle, and it could also double as goggles. Absolutely, same idea is there, Kevin.
One of these is handy. This is a nice
Okay.
thing to have with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a saw.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My Swiss Army knife has one, but I also have a folding saw, and you can do other things besides just trim and cut trees with it if you have to. You know what I mean? And trust me, you don't want to get cut by one of those things.
Yep. It can make a nice weapon if need be. Nobody wants to get cut by a saw blade. That's a nice, ragged, dirty cut that can cause you an infection really quick.
Yeah.
But you could make a shelter, make a weapon. It's
that is a great one. I forgot about that. I actually have, believe it or not, somewhere on my table, I've got a pencil sharpener. It's all metal. I've had for over 30 years, and I still use it. And you can just take a regular twig and run it through there like a pencil, and there you got some tinder. Char cloth, if you guys don't know about that, get yourself an Altoids tin, take some cloth, and when you're doing a campfire, you throw the tin, closed with cloth in it, and then it heats up the cloth and turns it all charcoaly, and you can use that to help start another fire really, really quickly. Not to mention Altoids tins or tins like this can hold a lot of little emergency equipment, your medicine, razor blade, safety pins, and some fishing line, and you've got a fishing pole, old school style, of course, and a couple other items in here. There are even some lighters or things like that you can keep in these, but an Altoids tin makes for a great everyday carry box to carry all kinds of stuff in it. There's a lot of little mini square credit card tools that you can throw in them with, a couple of batteries, a mini lighter, flashlight, all kinds of little stuff that you're going to use in a pinch. Your canteens.
Another good thing to have, if you can get it, is a little 2-way radio that is shortwave. Those are good.
Yep.
And if you can get near the repeater towers, you can actually communicate for a long way if you needed to. But remember, communication also goes both ways. And if you were trying to, say, a hostile takeover of our country happened from an enemy, that's a great way for them to locate you.
But newspapers, I like that. We actually just found that our local town just has been putting out a free local newspaper, and I grabbed one just cause. But next time I'm going to grab like 100. And there's a lot of things. He's right. You can make casts out of them. You can make all kinds of things. Like paper mache style, or if you've got the right things, you can make knives out of them. You can make fire starters. You can make improvised clothing or umbrellas or shelters, things like that, just to keep the environment off you. One thing though that is in with the liquids list of survival gear is a stainless steel pot. You can put a whole bunch of your equipment in it And if you can't get one of those, a mess kit will work. But a nice, family size stainless steel pot, for sterilizing your water, for cooking your food, for using. I mean, you can use it to trap small animals. There's all kinds of things you can use it for. But just the convenience of having something that you can throw a couple of packages of ramen in and make the family meal for the night. Uh, and since we're on food and beverages, stock up on the ramen. You may get sick to death of it. There's other, more or less freeze dried, super cheap foods, rice and beans. All of those things go so far. And, if you alternate your meals and mix it up a bit, $5 will last you one person, a week, on just the ramen. You throw in some rice and beans with that, and you spent $20 and you've got 2 weeks worth of rations for at least one person, more or less depending on how much you like the other people in your family, and who's doing the most labor. And don't forget, when it comes to rationing food, if someone isn't doing anything, they don't get to eat as much. Those are the rules. If you're not helping, you're not eating. If you're not doing anything or you're injured, you don't need the full 2,000 calories a day. If you're working hard, you may just be able to justify more, especially if you're, chopping wood or doing stuff like that. You won't be able to do it the next day or the day after that if you don't get the right amount of nutrients for yourself, if you're the one who's doing all the labor. And, if they balk, you go, okay, you get to eat tonight, the full meal, but tomorrow you're chopping the wood and come at me the next day and see if you want to do that again. You've got to, think smart, not, those feelings, leave those at home. When you get home,
And
you
let,
can, unpack your feelings and deal with it. But you want yourself and your family to make it through a tough situation. You're going to have to be tough on yourself and everybody around you, and tell them it's no hard feelings. You're not being a jerk. You're just trying to get everybody through because you've already done the math in your head, and you never know when the next, free meals are coming around, so
let,
you
let me,
have to.
Another thing I think should be mentioned, Shadow, is that if you are bugging out, you should have a destination in mind. And if you have a destination, say a brother or a sister, family member that you're going to go to in a safer state where whatever this catastrophe is isn't going on, try to avoid main roads. Try to run that scenario with paper maps, because you don't know if your phone's going to be working. Have paper maps of that area and go directly to them as a test. Make it a fun thing for your family. Do a bug out. Go to that location of your relative and just see what your time's going to be. And that's without traffic probably, but try to avoid main roads because they're going to be, in any disaster, they're going to be a mess that you're probably not going to be able to use. So just remember that. If you're driving, you're not walking, you're trying to get there in a vehicle, and you've got all your pets and your family members in the car. You want to get there as quickly as possible to that place and lock up your house, lock everything down, make sure you have all your personal meds with you, everything you're going to need, but make sure you do a test. It's a good way to find out how you're going to succeed in this. Remember, that's without the traffic. You're going to counter traffic on those back roads too, and possibly problem people. So you got to be careful. Just wanted to put that little bit in there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have absolutely no intentions of leaving my house. I don't even leave my house normally anyway. So it's not a an issue. But here's a couple of things that our friends here that gave me this list. When it comes to food, Cliff bars and high calorie protein bars, as many of those as you can stock up. Mark the date really, on the box so you know when to rotate them. Because we made that mistake and tried to bite into some granola bars that were a little suspicious on the outside, and yeah, one bite and you knew I'm not even going to give this to the dog. The MREs we covered. Chia seeds apparently, and I didn't know this, chia seeds are a superfood a lot of omega-3. Warriors used to fight for an entire day on a handful of chia seeds. I never even seen them. You can get them, grab them. Himalayan salt has 90 essential elements missing from modern food, and you can't live without salt. Fishing kit, we kind of discussed that. If you're a fisher, be ready. Get your stuff. Even one of those pocket fishermen's, if you happen to have one of those, or just the bare minimum of fishing line and safety pins and a good stick, or learn some trapping techniques if you're got a small creek or something like that. Because I don't like fish, but I tell you this, I'd rather eat fish than nothing. Snare wire, if you know anything about catching critters, minimum of 10 feet of snare wire, you should be good to go. There's a couple items on this list. The USAF Air Crew Survival Manual. If you got a survival manual, definitely pack it in there for the others to study and have something to read when you're out foraging or whatever. Something called food cards. They're edible medicinal wild plants, a deck of playing cards that help you recognize plants around you that you can use for all kinds of stuff. I know in my backyard I've got stuff that will make a great painkiller. Cactus you can eat. Grim and I were talking about that last night. Yeah, I'd rather eat the fish than the cactus, and I hate fish. But the cards, or a manual or an app, I don't recommend, relying on an app, but there are a lot of things that will help you identify the different plants and what you can use them for, what part's edible. And, to be honest, the sooner you start doing things like that, the better. Leaving the canned and processed foods in packages for trade. If you've got, things around you that you can eat that are grown out of the ground, go for that first, or put it in with your regular meals to get used to it, or make it, okay, well, this is what's lunch. We're having cactus today for lunch. You can go without, or you can have some cactus because we made cactus. Things like that.
Hey, Shadow, let me ask, we should ask Squirrel. I wanted to ask you, buddy, since this is Grim, he asked me to do this with him because of the very, very grim situation you were in. What did you find? How did you find the federal authorities, the local authorities? How did you rate their response? The train company, how would you say this will be a good example this was just one little place with lots of free resources around. And I just would like to know how well on a 1 to 10 they helped you, and what you would say about that, if you don't mind. I can't read your text, sadly. I don't have that on my phone, but the chat. But if you could please just tell us what you think.
I'll bring that up. Bring that up. Yeah. I like the throwing a little bit of meat in with the beans and rice to help digest it better and get the most out of it. Molasses and honey, absolutely. Do not leave that stuff behind. Whether it be for making a tea or sweetening something, or even throwing it on rice will turn that rice into dessert. For the kids, things like that. And it lasts forever. I mean, literally forever. Yeah, grow an edible landscape with plants folks won't recognize as food, absolutely. Or just hide your plant cards so they don't take them off your dead body and try to make use of them. We're getting into some of the more optional items, like a Faraday cage for your phone. It will keep your phone working after the EMP. Okay, Squirrel says the local initial response was 10. The follow-up is lacking due to diligence, egregiously 2.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm glad to hear that they initially were out with the full 10, because that's different than what I heard, but maybe different areas, different different morales of the workers. I get that. We're all praying for you, man.
Why was it a 2? what brought it to be a 2 from a 10? I'm just curious if he could put that out on the chat.
Fats are important too. Brining pork belly or salting it. Other meat fats can go a ways in winter, and you can use them for, as lard and things like that. Absolutely. It does sound gross, but you know what? And spam, my family loves spam. I got them tricked into loving that a couple years ago. And they every Saturday is incomplete if Jackie doesn't get a little bit of spam with his eggs. Um, one of the items listed on this list, and I personally am going to, recommend your Bible or something of that nature. If you're a religious person, absolutely, bring your comfort with you. If not, that's your business. Okay, now we get into the mighty miscellaneous items: 3 pencils and a memo pad, paracord, as much of it as you could possibly get, a knife sharpener. I've got one that I've had for decades. You can actually get a really good knife sharpener at Dollar Tree for $1.25, and it's a brick. I mean, this thing will last you forever. You could literally, saw it in half and hand out chunks of it, and it would still, I mean,
I did not know
if you
that.
got,
I'll check that out. That's a great
yeah,
idea.
I mean, it's not the best. I mean, you're not going to get, but it's meant for gardening tools and axes and things like that. And yeah, absolutely. If you've got an axe, get one. If you don't, get one. And if you are worried about, all the extra weight and stuff, like Kevin says, you can take off the handle and make a handle when you get somewhere. I would rather just go with one. There's a lot of good axes that are solid metal, with a paracord handle that'll work in a dollar store or Dollar Tree. I go to Dollar Tree. That's where I got one. You may find them at the 99-cent store, but Dollar Tree has them in their tool aisle. And Dollar Tree is a great place. With $100, you could again walk out of there with everything you would need for, literally, if you just said, I'm going to go camping with only what I could find with $100 at the Dollar Tree, you might actually have one of the most interesting camping trips ever. Knife sharpener, sewing kit. A lot of people forget this one, but you really don't need that much to make a good sewing kit because you're not trying to look stylish. You're just trying to not freeze to death. First aid kit. Okay, that should be a no-brainer. You can start out small. The 2 first items every first aid kit should have: rubbing alcohol and peroxide. After that, you can, start shredding up clothes for bandages and things like that. And you can use the rubbing alcohol and peroxide to help clean those items, and you just recycle as necessary. But a minimum of a couple of bottles of each in your bigger bug out bags. One of each will you won't regret it. There's a whole bunch of things we can get into with the first aid kit, the combat dressing and things like that. But we'll save that for another time. The flashlight, especially a head-mounted flashlight, there's a couple of new ones on the market that look pretty spiffy. But believe it or not, at Dollar Tree and dollar stores, you can pick up a head-mounted 2 AA battery, headlamp flashlight. Again, needing both hands to, do whatever you're doing and not having to hold a flashlight, will actually save you a lot of, grief.
Did Squirrel answer about that? Why it went from a 10 to 2? I can't see.
Oh yeah, you know what? I got to scroll back. No problem, Holy Diver. This is one of those videos we hope will be useful long after, I'm dead and buried, and people will come back to this and still, watch it from time to time, or at least once in their life. Yeah, rosary goes a long way there, Kevin. Faraday from an old ammo can and heavy duty foil. Didn't know that, but I'm gonna remember that. Cleanup seems to be coming along well. However, the help is bulls and garbage. We are helping ourselves, that local communities are helping us and each other. The government is taking crap on us.
Horrible.
Locals,
Wow.
okay, you could go to locals and get some of this stuff. Okay, let's get back to the most recent comments. Got a wood stove project in the future. That's a good one. Using Dollar Tree metal dog bowls. I would love to see a video on that because, yeah. Bo says, please do not put peroxide on wounds. I would like to hear why not, because I got struck by lightning, and you can maybe see right here, I've got a burn here, and that's all I had. And I never went to the hospital. I just kept putting peroxide on it, but I would love to hear why I shouldn't have done that. Um, First aid, most important is, yes, the cleaners, but ointment is next. You don't want to have a cut, just leave a cut, just washed with water. Okay. I used to put one first aid kit for dogs. Muzzles is a must. Don't forget dog food. Seriously, H2O2 shreds. I can't pronounce that word. Cells needed for healing. Well, I did heal, and you can barely see the wound, but I mean it's there. You can see it, but from a distance you can't see it. But there's a big round, almost perfectly silver dollar sized hole there. But that's all I had. I mean, I was out in the middle of nowhere, and that's all that was there. But soap is better. Well, you know what? It hurt like hell. And actually touching it, just I just didn't think of it, and I wanted to make sure, mind you, this was 30 plus years ago.
Be right
Uh,
back.
Combo rifle, but stay away from rim fires for the rifle round. Too easy for negligent discharge while cleaning or while closing. Soap is better. Okay. Grim will be back in just a moment. Roll of duct tape. Who didn't see that coming, right? If not just one, get a 6-pack or whatever pack of duct tape. I've seen everything from clothing, backpacks, and shelters made out of duct tape. You can never literally have too much. Water clean wounds is still exposed, and if your water isn't pure, ointment will also help your body fight anything. Okay, save the peroxide for brushing your teeth, maybe. Okay, okay, I'll remember that.
I got another one for your bug out bag. Make sure to have a tiny little dog. That's right. You see
Yeah,
this? This is a powerful aid. A powerful aid can alert you to danger, can attack villains. And if they have a little sombrero to go on their head because they're Chihuahuas, that shows they're, from Mexico. If you run into Mexicans, they'll be like, leave them alone. It's a great idea. Sorry, that's a little Franco. He had to come up.
No, you're not wrong. If you don't have a dog, get a dog. If you can find a stray dog, get a stray dog. Whatever it takes, because of their sense of smell and hearing and loyalty,
They'll alert
they could be better than having somebody on guard duty at a pinch.
Absolutely. If everybody's exhausted, they will alert regardless.
And Squirrel says in regards to his situation, keep in mind, folks, East Palestine, Ohio is a village around 4,000 people. That's it. That's yeah, okay. That does actually, sort of square things in my head a little better, but still, that's too many people, to not take care of. You know what I mean? Turmeric powder, buy bulk, cheap, good for stopping bleeding, and antiviral and antibacterial, and you can cook with it. Okay. 2 terriers, 1 GSD. My son's class is a whopping 64 students. Crafting gamer Shadow. I'd like to make a suggestion for a survival item. A sheet of chrome tan leather. It's flexible. Whoops. Decently water resistant and can be made into bags, cut into cords, braided into rope. That's honestly one of the best dogs to have for bugging out. Bo says, also, I have replaced all of my triple antibiotic creams with straight. I can't read that. I can't. Let me see if that makes it better. Back tracing because of possible antibiotic allergies. Okay. 3,000 goes to 30 real quick if you're isolated. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Throw a steak at a large dog and they are likely to eat it. Small yippy dogs will continue to bark regardless, in my experience. Yeah, we are all, hoping for the best for you, Squirrel. Charlotte says, this isn't just going to affect East Palestine. This stuff is in the water. Yeah, agreed. It is in the water. And um, I don't know what those people are going to do years from now when they're still dealing with this sort of stuff. Back onto the list I've got here. Obviously, a bar of antimicrobial soap, just because you've got to live with each other, and the last thing you need is one little thing irritating somebody's sense of smell when you're trying to, sleep in a tent or something like that. General purpose scraps, cardboard can turn into a backpack. Triflow lubricant loosens, lubricates, preserves, even has Teflon spill proof. Colloidal silver generator, brought us antibiotic water purifier. Um, Again, these are some hardcore next level items. The USMC Combat Patrol Pack. This is the bag of your bug out bag. I guess it's the the actual bag instead of a backpack. The radio, AM, FM, weather charged by solar crank. Absolutely. You can usually get them with flashlights and sirens and things like that. If you see one, grab it. You know, just look at it as another piece of insurance. $10 face value, U.S. pre-1964 silver coins. Anything to buy. If anything to buy, silver will be better than paper money or gold, because gold you'll be getting ripped off and you'll be losing a huge amount of money. And if you have to go gold, go with the smallest physical, like little dime-sized coins, many of those, as opposed to the big, shiny, bigger gold coins. Encrypted flash drive with crucial data, birth certificate, passport, stuff like that. You want to go for that. That's a good one. Multi-tool, who doesn't have a good multi-tool, whether it be a survival knife, Swiss Army knife, or, you can go to Walmart and pick up a really good one for like 10 or 15 bucks with a case, and I gave one to my son this year and he loves it. It's got everything. It's got pliers, screwdrivers, knives, all that kind of stuff. A file, it's sturdy enough that you can use it as a light tapping hammer if you need it, or better yet, bring a hammer. Toothbrush, to all the mouth stuff. Last thing you want, trust me, after a couple of days without brushing your teeth, you're not going to want to have any long discussions with your family. River shoes for water crossing. Personally, I will just take off my shoes and go barefoot. My feet are tough enough, but other people not so much. And that's pretty much almost everything on the list, other than solar panels and some other, very expensive equipment. We're trying to do this on a budget for most gamers because we're too busy spending our money on gaming. And
Shadow,
here's where we get.
You mentioned tooth care. They make a great little, that stuff that you can fix. It's pretty reasonably priced. You can fix a broken tooth with it. That's a great thing to have in your bug out bag. It allows you to basically put a temporary filling in. I think it's called temporary filling. I'm not sure the name. I'm sure somebody on the chat knows, or Chris, what it is, Shadow, because it's a good thing.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, for most of our viewers, they're a bit younger and probably won't have these issues. But Bo Paints Minis makes a great point here. Hygiene is not just nice to have; it's mandatory. When hygiene breaks down, serious illness sets in. Absolutely, especially when you're outdoors a lot, like 24/7 or something like that, or worse, in a a grungy hotel room or something like that. Things break down, and trust me, they do not clean those places like they should. A FEMA camp, that's got to be the last thing on almost everybody's mind. Download survival guides to your phone. That's not bad, but without a solar powered, recharger, that's going to just become a brick that maybe someday you'll get working again. Flares and a flare gun, yeah, that's not a bad one. Especially if you can get flares for your shotgun, which do exist. So you've got a multi-purpose tool. You don't have to carry around a plastic flare gun that will break after about 8 uses, and then you'll be, SOL. Ain't that the truth? Drying meat using the sun keeps the strips 1/4 thick, will prevent fly bloat if and when hanging it to dry. 2 to 4 days in arid environment, 4 to 10 in human used Cherokee method a few summers back. Okay, I'd like to see a video on that because if I have to, you know, uh, it's a good skill to have. Now we're going to get to the gamer part. Okay, you've got all this survival gear packed and stowed and ready to go. Cool. So when you go to sleep, you're good. When you go to brush your teeth and bathe, you're good. When you go to eat, you're good. What are you going to do with the rest of the time? Well, we talked about this, and I've actually talked about this before. I'm going to show you this book. Most of you guys wouldn't, play this game if your life depended on it. Villains and Vigilantes. It's
Wow,
about
that's a good
64. It's about 64 pages. Believe it or not, this would be my first go-to game I would take anywhere. I could
That's a
play
good one.
and create any role-playing game with this book. Yeah, it's superheroes, but you know what? I could play a Western out of this game. Okay, I just don't use a lot of the stuff. I could play Gamma World. I could play Top Secret. I could play Villains and Vigilantes. I could play Dungeons and Dragons or any variation of any of those games. Want to play Traveler? Here we go. We're just going to use this book. Okay, it gives you something as a base foundation to role play. Now, mind you, I've got other choices. I've got Traveler,
Good one,
core
Shadow.
rulebook. What?
I was just saying that's a good one, Shadow. The Vigilantes
Again,
and
I can
Vigilantes.
I can play any game with this. Okay, maybe not the superhero genre so much, but I can definitely play some other games if I wanted to. And getting the family involved when you're sitting around camp all day with nothing to do, ending the night with a good role playing session. And if you've got family members that have never role played before and you want to get them going, the Total Party Skills Rules Handbook is actually a great beginner game. I'm going to do a review on this as soon as I'm done reading it cover to cover. But something like this, any kind of game that you can use, GURPS is a great one, but GURPS, I mean, I don't know how many books you can get away with, Bo, in that kind of a situation. But having one nice role-playing game that you and your family can get behind, at the end of the night or after lunch, while you're just doing nothing between lunch and dinner, I forget what society it was back in the old days, like 1,000+ years ago. They were starving. And what they did was they played games all day. Then the next day they were allowed to eat. Then the next day they played games all day long. And then the next day they were allowed to eat. And they made it through like a 7 or 14 year, famine. But they survived because the human brain will adapt. And if it's got something fun to adapt to, the food, they're more interested in playing the game, than worrying about their stomach grumbling, knowing that they're going to eat tomorrow. Cool, let's just get invested in the game. So finding one game book, I mean, you can bring your whole library if you want. If you think you can carry all that around all day, cool. But one book, one role-playing game book in your backpack could mean the difference between a miserable situation or a very memorable, exciting, fun diversion from what could be otherwise a horrible situation. Don't forget your dice, but you only need one set of dice. Don't bring your whole dice collection. Just what you need. I've got this dice bag. I've had this dice bag I got from Disneyland, Pirates of the Caribbean, again, like 30 years ago.
I never saw that. That's neat.
It's all leather. It holds my entire.
One,
This is all my dice except the new digital ones, and I wouldn't bring those. But it holds all my dice, and it also holds some marbles and some beads and some tokens and stuff like that. And you know what? I'd bring it. Okay. It'd be better to just bring one of those dice tubes, with a full set. The 7 dice minimum you need. Sure, you can roll one 6-sided at a time to roll your stats. Therefore, there's no cheating.
You also have you have your D&D transportable box you made, Shadow, that you showed. The fold up chessboard you took, where you
right.
That's a great idea.
yeah, that's something I will try to remember if I need to. But wait a minute, I'm not going anywhere. But even a couple extra D6s, because believe it or not, you could trade two of these off if you needed to, and there are people that would just it would make a difference in their life. So I think there's
Well,
more than just craps, but there's other dice games, that you could throw in there for trading. It's like, hey, I've got these, what do you give me for it, kind of thing. Okay, extra paper, extra pencils, notebooks, graph paper, a little bit of that stuff. A couple of notebooks, about that thick, and I brought this, and it would be like just carrying this, and I've got paper for the kids to draw. I've got paper for notes and maps and things like that. At the same time, you got stuff for character sheets. Throw in a pack of index cards, for trail markers and things like that as well. A nail and an index card will stay on a tree for a good long time. You tear it in half, you got two trail markers, or you got a character sheet. It's up to you. What games would
great
you bring
idea.
there, Graham? What would be your
Oh,
go-to game?
I'd probably bring. I couldn't find it, but I have my Warhammer fantasy role play that I like because you can use that for about any system. That system's pretty good. It's a contained book. I enjoy it. Um, and if I were taking it, my son knows that system well, so that's why I would
This
take
one?
that. Yep, that's it. Yep, and that's a great all around book for playing any system. It's a lot like Call of Cthulhu. That's also a system you could play any game with, like your village and villains and vigilantes. It's a lot like that. You can just take it. That's great systems, and of course D&D is a great book if you're taking those.
Yeah, I was tempted to throw the Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, DMG in there, but I'm like, if I had to go, it's just it's too much weight and too much wear and tear on some really old books that I'd rather more than likely people aren't going to steal those out of my house if we had to evacuate. You know, yeah, Bo, that's a great idea. The trash bags to put your stuff in, because especially here in California, a lot of the hotels have that whole case of bed bugs. I know a guy who had to stay in a hotel, and when he came home, they came with him, and
Uh,
it was damn near impossible. He had to literally empty his entire house out and fumigate every last thing he owned, and it was a
yeah,
nightmare for him.
that's
So yeah,
awful.
absolutely, yeah. So yeah, and using the emergency sleeping bags uh, for bedding and stuff like that. That way you're not getting bit, and they're not going to go into the foil bag. And if they do, you're going to know it because you're going to feel them moving around easier than you would because of the, you know, in regular bedding you might not notice them, but with one of those you would. Bags of dice and a list of gaming stores. uh, you know, yeah. I always say I've got a games workshop down the street from me. Chainmail rules, that would be cool. The miniatures, you could make standees, and that would give you something to do, drawing stick figures and things like that. That would be fun. Hey, Echo, um, hold on, Squirrel. The former president will be visiting tomorrow. Let the circus genuinely begin. Not pro or anti, just a comment on politics getting overly involved. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hope you know things will shake out and get better, but you got a little bit of struggling to make it through. Um, I always joke I've got a games workshop about 15 minutes from here, and if things start going crazy, looting crazy, that would be one of my first stops. I'm just kidding, but you know, uh, it would serve them right. And to be honest, nobody would break in there except guys like me. It'd be like, hey, I can start playing 40K for free. Um, I was there. I went there the very first day it opened for the grand opening, and I walked out with a couple of miniatures that they said that there was a free promo miniature. So me and my family, we each grabbed one and walked out with it. Turns out that wasn't it.
Oh,
So so we got four of this Captain miniature that we thought was free. We never painted them, never did anything with them. Just kept them in the package. I don't even know where they are now, but we thought that was the free miniature because there's a big stack of them. We just grabbed one each and walked out, and they didn't say anything. I guess they were too busy. And then we went back and found out, and we didn't, return them because we didn't have them with us. We just went there and found out, oh, that wasn't it, and with the way they've been treating their customers, they've been awful to us when we go in there. The guy's nice, who runs the shop, but the policies that he has to run by, during a certain, time, about a year and a half ago, when they would let people in, they would only let one person in into this little plexiglass cubicle, like a phone booth. And there's the shop, the shop worker there, and only one person could go in at a time. And I'm like, I can't bring my son in. Like, nope, one person at a time. It's like, well, what the hell's the point?
That's
I mean, I was going to buy my son something, but now I'm not. You know what I mean?
Really?
And we went there for a free painting lesson, and he says, "Oh, you can't get the free painting lesson because you've been here before."
Crazy.
I'm like, "You're kidding me?" Yeah, we come in here. So if I've never been here before, I could come in and get a free painting lesson. But because I've been here and I've actually been a customer, but I got my son here who's 11 years old at the time, and he's interested in learning how to paint and play, and you're going to turn him down?
That's ridiculous.
Wow,
that's the kind of things that makes those kind of shops unpleasant. Nobody wants to go to them.
You know what? I totally forgot that, Kevin. A deck of cards, because I actually need to get a deck of cards for playing Gaslands, but I'm going to get a couple extra decks, just maybe to pass out, to get people on our good side, or maybe we'll play a high stakes game of, ramen poker. I raise you a pack of ramen kind of thing. I don't recommend that at all, because if you win, you will lose. But playing rummy or some dumb game like that, go fish. Forensics Mystics, welcome to the show. We're almost done here, but you're more than welcome and recommended to rewind the video and take notes. We're going to do this again next week, but with a different, topic, but still prepping.
I got to be off to the rescue squad. So.
And Bo says, GURPS Light, 20 pages. Didn't know that. Good to know. I'd also say Traveler fits the bill well. Not sure about V&V, but it's D6 based. V&V is all dice based. You use them all. Passive intermittent fasting, absolutely, if you can get your family to do that. My Desert Island 3 would be Rules Cyclopedia, First Edition DMG, and Tome of Adventure Design, or the Burning Wheel Codex and Monster Burner. Fair enough. I mean, Traveler is D6. Yeah, V&V uses everything. GURPS is 3D6. They make fair caltrops in urban settings. Yeah, I'll just make them out of twigs or nails. Or maybe original white box has everything. Yeah, that's not a bad one, especially for beginners. Why not get them into the real beginning? Games a must. Cards, travel chess, or checkers. Small RPG, absolutely. Pirates of the Caribbean was my favorite ride back in the day. Sketchbooks are nice. Look them up. Yeah, I can't pronounce that word because I can't read it. Gave out cloth game boards, went Exmouth with some scrap cloth after I stitched some pants and couldn't think of any other use for the extra. Honestly, pretty ghetto but functional. Sure, especially like Monopoly or something like that. Maybe checkers, chess. Hotels usually packed without an emergency. Don't count on finding one. Almost all major cities are infested with them, as in bed bugs. When the world ends, things like RPG books, Magic the Gathering style games, and board games will become almost as valuable as food and water. Never underestimate the value of entertainment. That is the entire point of the whole video. Sure, you can watch 100 other prepping videos, but we're all family here. We're all good friends. We've known each other, or at least I've known all of you, most of you, for the better part of a year. Hey, Fritz, you made it just in time. Now you know how I feel. right at the end of the show. Please save this video, Fritz, and watch it later. I know you're not going anywhere either, but for those of us who, in an unfortunate emergency would have to, hit the road and get out of Dodge, favorite RPG to take with you to help, entertain the masses, because believe it or not, if you're a GM worth his salt, you could be the most popular person in the shanty town, being the DM and inviting new folks in. It's like, hey, every night we play some Dungeons and Dragons. You're welcome to come, but just chip in for the snack, which reminds me of one of the most important food items you can bring with you. That being popcorn, right, guys? Who doesn't love popcorn? Even without the butter, if you got that Himalayan salt, we've got one of those old fashioned crank popcorn poppers, and it takes a half cup of popcorn to fill it, and you cook it on an open flame. It works like a charm. And one good size, container of popcorn will make you like 20 or 30 servings of popcorn. And, trading people, entrance into your game. Okay, we're going to have popcorn, but you got to bring, something to the party, even if it's something we're not going to share with the party. We're going to make some popcorn. We'll all sit around the campfire, play some Dungeons and Dragons, use a fold up table, or use, pie plate or frisbee as your dice tray so everybody can see what's going on. And we're going to play some D&D. You're welcome to join, but, got to ask that you bring something to, for the snack thing or whatever, because, I'm going to be expending valuable calories, working up some yarn of BS for the people we invite. Never underestimate that charisma skill or your ability to get new people to the game. I am in the high desert, RPG Grandma, and she is in a village in Sacramento. Only the first one's free. Yeah, that's right. Wizards of the Coast, folks, in case you need kindling. I was waiting for someone to throw that in there. My old gaming store was never that way. Too bad it went under a few years back. Yeah. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much. Yeah, I will be on tomorrow with Hungar as well if I wake up in time. No, I had Monday off, and the son had it off, so I just figured I'd sleep in, thinking that Hungar was probably still in the hospital. And popcorn seed will grow. I did not know that. Good to know.
Praying for you, Hungar.
You can plant it. I did. Okay, I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to try that this spring, because we're doing the whole victory garden, and hopefully, it'll pan out. A Boy and His Dog, when Don Johnson's character traded a can of food for popcorn and a movie. There you go. That's, exactly. So I think that's going to be it for us tonight. Grim's got to hit the road, and we did this for almost an exact hour and a half. I'm glad you guys all came by and hung out with us. Feel free to add anything in the comment section later on for those of you who are just getting to this, or if you think we missed something. But next week, we're going to talk about sheltering in place. And, I know most of you guys have no intention of going anywhere. Good for you. But we're going to talk about the pros and cons of sheltering and leaving, and the things you need to do to be able to stay safe while you're sheltering in place. So hope all of you guys have a wonderful, great afternoon and great week. Grim, anything you want to leave us with before you hit the road?
Nope, just be careful, be safe. Everybody rest well tonight, and have a blessed evening. And Franco says goodbye.
Amen, brother. Take care, everybody, and God bless.
Yep. Shadow, have a good one. Bye-bye. Bye to everybody.